President Volodymyr Zelensky, where Trump and J.D. Vance literally treated Zelensky like a boy. But I would encourage you to actually go back and watch the entire interview. The clips that we saw showed a different side of the story. But the conversation actually, which was about 1 hour, was good. There was, they were seeing eye to eye, and Zelensky had much time to table his concerns and his needs. But what made the camel's back break is when they asked him about his choice of attire, and this was a question from a reporter, a question that J.D. Vance also jumped on, and all hell literally broke loose. But we know that since the war in Ukraine began, this has been the choice of attire that President Zelensky has been putting on, and for every head of state he has visited, this is how he has been dressing. Now, some political commentators are saying to ask about one's choice of attire when there is a war going on is to be out of touch with what is really happening. But then there is another group claiming that if you know you're visiting the Oval Office and this is the order of dress, why don't you dress like you're supposed to dress? Our questions, how come Elon Musk can be in the Oval Office with a cape and addressing the president dressed like he's addressing someone that is a commoner, an ordinary person? So there are different conversations. This. And of course, when we go into the geopolitical issue of it all, it goes to show that Zelensky, despite how he was treated, doesn't have so much cards to play with right this time, and many political commentators are of the view this is the time he should agree on actually having a conversation with Vladimir Putin so that they put the war behind them, because Ukraine and Russia have much more history together compared to these foreigners that are coming in for their own benefits. What's your say on that? I'd like to hear your views. Now, coming back here in Uganda, there was a celebration of the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, 5 years of him being the Archbishop, that is the Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba Mugaru. And among his achievements in the last 5 years is him being able to collect and clear a 60 billion debt that the Church of Uganda House had, and now we have a sprawling building, beautiful, in the middle of Kampala. What have you been paying attention to this weekend? That's what I've been paying attention to, but I would like to hear from you. And of course, the team is here with me. That is Julie F. Nantaba Msisi and Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono. I'll go to Chirabo first of all, check on him, see how he's doing. Let's get this day started. Good morning, Chirabo.
Good morning. A new week, a new month, I must say, as well, because you were last year when you haven't really entered into that. But one thing that caught my attention is the robbery, the theft that has been happening on the bypass, where police has come out now to say that they are going to intensify operations aimed at curbing this crime. Now, very important to note is that this crime happens a particular time, then police brings their resources, it reduces, but then it resurfaces again. Now, the challenge we have, and what I want to bring to the interest of police, is the fact that these very people that are arrested are taken to police, then they go to court, but then they are later released. Why are they released? That there are no people who come to testify against these people. That's why you will hear at one time that, there's so much theft on this bypass, then police will come and swing, they'll arrest, you'll have a period of rest for about 5-6 months. Now, the same people when released are going to come back because they are never convicted. They are remandees up to a time when there's nobody to follow up, then they are back on the streets. So how does police and how will the communities help address this? So that these people are arrested, they are convicted, and they are sentenced. And then they go through what we call rehabilitation. Because in prisons, they only rehabilitate convicts, not remandees. Yes, Oli.
Very interesting, Robert. But also, we Yes, there is a problem, and it keeps, it goes away, then it comes back, goes away, then it comes back. But look at it this way. How about instead of treating the disease, we treat the symptoms, we treat the triggers? Because why do we have these rowdy youths on the Northern Bypass to begin with?
Well, first and foremost, yes, we have a very huge group of youth that are unemployed, a very huge group of youth that don't know what tomorrow holds for them. They don't see bright through their future. They're uneducated, they are unemployed, they're on substances and drug abuse. They live for a moment. They don't see what's happening. Now, then we have that jam that happens, a traffic jam, because these don't go for fast-moving vehicles. They target when there is slow movement of vehicles. So if you have what we call a black spot is that environment that is very conducive for a crime to be committed. And you have this group of youth, the two combined, then worsened by the fact that they will know. They will go sleep there, then they will come back. So those are the reasons why we have these youth there. There is a conducive environment for them that they will rob. There is a swamp thereby, there are tunnels thereby, so it's very conducive for them to commit this offense. But also those committing the offense are there. Yes.
Those committing the offense are there. Well, interesting perspective. Now, Julie, good morning, first of all. Welcome back from the weekend.
Good morning, Olive. Happy March.
Oh, yeah. Happy March. You know, it hasn't sunk in yet that it is a new week. So, yeah, happy March.
I know, right? Women's Day is almost here for us to celebrate women in the world. But another opportunity to indeed be a part of the vision to inspire Uganda. Good morning to you, viewer. Hopefully you are geared up for the new week and for the new day. Now, it's speaking in regards to what Robert in Studio B has addressed in regards to the police crackdown on the Northern Bypass. Allow me throw more light on the fact that, on the bigger picture of this issue being in fact so common in Kampala altogether. And I'm shedding more light on skaters. I don't know if you've paid attention during those hours, those traffic jam hours, to young boys, young men who are always on their roller skates. Now, I'm not so sure about how you feel about them, but many times all I see is insecurity. Because one, their safety, but of course even for property of people, passengers who are in these commuter taxis. On top of roller skaters, there are these young men who hang on to commuter taxis and sort of get a free ride. I don't know if I'm to call it a free ride.
But do you know that sometimes those ones that hang on to commuter taxis are the taxi, the conductors?
Yes, they are, but there are those who actually hang on to snatch a phone, to snatch a bag, to use the opportunity.
Yes.
And I have not yet seen anywhere the police addressing the issue of skaters, roller skaters, and those who hang on commuter taxis. Sometimes as a community, you don't even know how we're supposed to handle it or safeguard ourselves against these. Because we know, I think we are used to those who are just walking by a taxi and then snatch. Somewhat we are growing aware of people of that sort. But
of when I'm in this zone,
yes,
I don't pull out my phone, I keep my bag on this side.
Yes, but for roller skaters, you're confused. Are they just having a leisure activity? Are they on job? You know, on a job trying to snatch people's property. So if you address that crackdown on the Northern Bypass, for me it spreads even wider than the Northern Bypass to most parts of Kampala, especially the crowded city spaces.
Oh, you're right. But I see the same concern you have is the same concern that Robert raised, and it is the fact that even when they are arrested, they are set free because there is no one to proffer charges against them. But so how do we help ourselves, and how do we work with the police to protect ourselves? Because at the end of the day, when someone snatches your phone, you really don't know who they are. So even if you report your phone stolen, chances are that the police will even tell you, forget about that one. So how do we work together with the law enforcers to see that we are protected and that they can also do their job?
Well, I think for starters, it starts with us. Being in an environment where you're not so safe and not so sure of your property, being highly sensitive is just what we have to do. We have no other choice but to be highly sensitive. That means, because I read a story on that, and it read that these gangs work with street vendors. They work with people who just operate on the streets on a daily.
So it's a chain.
It's a chain. That means each one of us has to actually be careful with who you're talking to, even if it's a street vendor. How much information are you sharing? What are they know? Have they seen the money that you're holding in your wallet as you're paying for whatever you're paying for? Because from there, they are informing someone to follow you on the road. So.
Thank you so much, Julie. And by the way, on the same note, Winnie Nwaji, one of the best singers in this country, she did issue a warning to many people who trust border riders to bring things, to bring merchandise or whatever you send them for up to your home. Actually not home, up to your threshold, like up to your door. She said these people, as they come to your door to deliver whatever you sent them for, they're looking into your house to see what you have. And then these very people will work with thieves who will come and attack you and steal your property. So she issued some advice and said, if you must get a delivery, find the border rider at the gate, not at your doorstep, because there may be precarious results from that. But that being said, let's move on and look at our local news.
Well, we begin with President Yoweri Museveni on the copyright system. Now, President Museveni allowed the operationalization of the copyright management system, a program that strengthens intellectual property rights and protects the creative industry. During a meeting in Rakitura attended by the Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayewa, Minister of State for Gender and Culture, Peace Mutuzo, and a section of musicians led by the Senior Presidential Advisor for Creatives and President of the Uganda National Musicians Federation, Edirisa Musuza, also known as Eddie Kenzo. President Museveni said the copyright management has been completed to address the emerging challenges in the copyright protection. The integrated copyright management system will help creatives register works, monitor use, and where possible, receive payment for the use of their work. A principal development economist at State House, Dr. Joel Isabirie, said a musician will register their works like a song, and then different places that have been licensed to play the music will be monitored by the system. At the end of a certain period, the musician will collect money that has been paid by the particular business to use the music. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Thomas Tayewa, has threatened to arrest political leaders who are misleading Ugandans on the parish development model funds. He was speaking at the launch of the Archdiocese of Mbarara Development Foundation in Mitoma district. Over 8 billion shillings is needed to construct a commercial building for the Archdiocese of Mbarara, where earnings will support development projects of the church. The launch started with a mass led by the Bishop of Mbarara Archdiocese, His Grace Lambert Baino Mugisha. Baino Mugisha encouraged Christians to learn giving back to God. The Deputy Speaker of Parliament, also chairperson of the building committee, contributed 50 million in cash. He was dissatisfied with leaders who mislead people on parish development model. The chief guest, King Caesar Murenga, contributed 100 million shillings. Yesterday marked 5 years since Stephen Kazimba Mugalu became the 9th Archbishop of the Church of Uganda. During the Thanksgiving ceremony at Namirembe, Kampala, the clergy commended Kazimba of being a resourceful and hard-working, oriented Archbishop. Christians gathered at the Archbishop's residence in Namirembe, Kampala, to celebrate 5 years of ministry of Samuel Stephen Kazimba Mugalu, the 9th Anglican Archbishop. Prayers were led by the retired Bishop of Kampala Diocese, Hannington Mutebi, who commended the bishop for clearing the 60 billion debt at Janan Lumu Church House in Kampala, constructing the Ankoyoyo Guest House, and keeping Church of Uganda during COVID-19. The same achievements were also re-echoed by the Provincial Secretary William Onen. The host Bishop Kazimba commended the people he worked with and works with for supporting him to make it possible, including government for offering more than 1,000 land titles for the church land. He also dismissed people's perception that church is always silent on human rights violations. During the celebration, Nkoyoyo Guest House was also commissioned. It was constructed by the chairperson of the Enthronement Organizing Committee and also Minister for Mineral, Ruth Nankabira. At the event, the Special Presidential Assistant on Service Delivery and Corruption, Yigachi Chamukama, pledged to house the Nkoyoyo Guest House with beddings. And finally, from the local scene, the political landscape in Kawempe North has intensified as candidates entered the second day of vigorous campaigns. The day's campaigns activities saw National Resistance Movement NRM candidate Hajat Farida Nambi officially welcomed supporters who had previously campaigned for the independent candidate Hanifa Mulerwa Karadi. Hanifa Mulerwa Karadi broke ranks with NRM party to contest as an independent, had been a significant player in the political race. The dramatic shift of allegiance was marked by an event in Chebando Nsoba where Amin Mayanja and his team announced their support for Nambi. Hajat Nambi stated moving door to door her campaign strategy and covering Chebando Nsoba, Kalere Park and Kanyanya Quarter Zone. At every stop, she was warmly received by enthusiastic residents who seized the opportunity to hear their grievances. Promising to be their voice in Parliament, Nambi assured voters that she would advocate for their needs. As part of her strategic outreach, Nambi also visited religious institutions, seeking divine favor and reinforcing her appeal to the faith-based electorate. Her campaign trail also took her to St. Paul's Church of Uganda in Chebando. In the race for Kawempe North, candidates have intensified efforts to secure victory.
And now let's cross over and have a look at international news, where TikTok is allegedly profiting from sexual live streams performed by teens as young as 15, this according to a report by the BBC. And 3 women spoken to by the BBC in Kenya said they began this activity as teenagers. They told the BBC that TikTok openly advertises and negotiates payment for more explicit content that would be sent via other messaging platforms. TikTok bans solicitation, but the company knows it takes place. Moderators have told the BBC. TikTok takes a cut of about 70% from all the live stream transactions, and this has been found unsubstantiated. TikTok said it has zero tolerance for exploitation. Live streams from Kenya are popular on TikTok. Each night over the course of a week, it was found that up to a dozen in which women performers danced suggestively, watched by hundreds of people around the world. It was at 2 o'clock in the morning in Nairobi, and TikTok lives were in full flow. Music blasts and users chat over each other as a woman turns her camera on to twerk or pose provocatively. Emoji gifts then fill the screen. Inbox me for Chinembe guys, tap tap, the performers say on repeat. And tap tap is a phrase commonly used on TikTok, calling for viewers to like a live stream. Chinembe is Swahili. I won't mention the word, but yeah, it's Swahili for some unpalatable private words. And they keep ordering the crowd or the viewers to inbox as they continue with their sexual activities online. Now, moving on, the Muslim holy month of Ramadan has begun worldwide. For the next 29 or 30 days, Muslims observing the fast will refrain from eating and drinking from dawn to dusk, a period lasting from 12 to 16 hours, depending on their location. Muslims believe Ramadan is the month when the first verses of the Quran were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad more than 1,400 years ago. The fast entails abstinence from eating, drinking, smoking, and sexual relations during daylight hours to achieve greater taqwa or consciousness of God. Ramadan begins 10 to 12 days earlier each year. This is because the Islamic calendar is based on the lunar Hijri calendar, with months that are 29 or 30 days long. Because the lunar year is shorter than the solar year by 11 days, Ramadan will be observed twice in the year 2030, first beginning on January 5th and then starting on December 26th. Muslims living in the world's southmost countries such as Chile or New Zealand will fast for about 13 hours, while those living in the northmost countries such as Iceland or Greenland will have fasts lasting 16 hours or more on their longest days. For Muslims living in the northern hemisphere, the number of fasting hours will be a bit shorter this year and will continue to decrease until 2031, which is the year Ramadan will encompass the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year. After that, fasting hours will increase in the northern hemisphere until its summer solstice, the longest day of the year. For fasting Muslims living south of the equator, the opposite will happen. And lastly, more than 500 Mpox patients have fled clinics in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo over the last month amid the current conflict. Officials at Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a leading health agency on the continent, have said they are worried as the missing patients risk spreading the highly contagious disease that is suspected to have killed at least 900 people in the DRC last year. The patients fled from facilities in Goma and Bukavu, two cities that descended into chaos as they were seized by the Rwanda-backed M23 rebels over the past weeks. We were looted, we lost equipment, it was a disaster, Dr. Samuel Muhindo, in charge of a clinic in Goma, said. Mpox, formerly known as monkeypox, can cause symptoms such as lesions, headaches, and fever. According to Africa Centers for Disease Control, since the start of this year, almost 2,890 Mpox cases and 180 deaths have been reported in the country, which has been at the epicenter of several recent outbreaks. Dr. Muhindo described how 128 patients had fled Goma's Mugunga Health Center in the wake of the fighting at the end of January. His health workers had not been able to trace them as the paperwork at the clinic was also destroyed, he said. With that, we come to the end of our international news. Now let's have a look at what the newspapers have for us today.
Well, thank you, Olive and Robert. And as the heat wave goes on in Uganda, a water crisis has hit the country. Now, that is a story that is in the New Vision, and Ugandans have been forced to share water sources with animals. This is on page 3 of the New Vision. There is a picture there of residents of Amber Store, Indian quarters in Mbale City, that await their turn to fill their jerrycans at a well as water shortage hits the city because of a prolonged dry spell all over Uganda. But moving on, there are 300 public servants that have failed to declare their wealth and they face sanctions. Now, that is on page 4 of the New Vision. But also there is a story on Mutasa Kafero and how he says how I made my money. That is on page 33 to 34. Looking at matters lifestyle, IUEA Cultural Gala attracts 13 countries, page 54 of the New Vision. And looking at matters health, why glaucoma is the silent thief of sight. Now you can look it up on page 29 to 30 of the New Vision. But also Museveni rallies Ankole on industrial development. And also in there are over 1,300 job opportunities. But looking at the Daily Monitor, how government has let down schoolgirls. Now this is a story on menstrual poverty, and despite modest make-do efforts to plug gaps for sanitary pads, a new report blames politics, failure by government technocrats and cultural biases for making 6 in every 10 girls miss school due to menstruation every single year. More of that on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Monitor, but also looks at inside Uganda's wildlife boom, and new figures show that Uganda's wildlife numbers have grown tremendously over the past 5 years. But also looking at matters health, how AIDS Trust Fund can address HIV funding gap. That is on page 16 of the Daily Monitor. Now looking at the Citizen, analysts upload central bank move online lenders, but Bank of Tanzania has been urged to empower members on the public with information that will make it possible for them to easily identify legitimate lenders and avoid borrowing from outfits of dubious repute. This is a story on page 2 of the Citizen, but also looking at why maternal neonatal deaths have dropped in 5 regions. And this is on the Safer Births bundle of care initiative that has slashed maternal and neonatal mortality in Geita, Manyara, Mwanza, Shinyanga, and Tabora by equipping healthcare workers with essential skills through innovative training methods. Now that story is on page 2 of the Citizen, but also Samia Tours set the stage for Tanga economic rebound. That is on page 2 of the Citizen. Now looking at the Daily Nation, red flags in Ruto's housing projects. The government has entered into 49.5 billion Kenyan shillings affordable housing contracts on parcels of land with missing title deeds. This raises questions on how Kenyans buying houses from the projects will get sectional titles to own the units in absence of original titles at a time when the affordable housing program continues to operate in an opaque regulatory environment. Are the beneficiaries risking their hard-earned cash? This is on pages 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation, but also looking at the fact that it's a big win for employees on pay after layoffs, and more of that story on page 3 of the Daily Nation, and also looking at untouchables. Probe into job scam goes cold. More of that on page 2 of the Daily Nation. But also, like Uhuru, Ruto's reign now at the mercy of Raila. This is on page 7 of the Daily Nation. And page 10 has the story on the betrayal and bloodshed, a cover-up of J.M. Kariuki's assassination. Lastly, looking at the East African, turning the tide in Congo, bolstered by actions against Rwanda by EU, US, and UK, Kinshasa now turns to Western entities, inviting them to tap minerals on its soil with a belief it could bring peace by cutting off support to militias. This is page 4 to 5 of the East African. But also in there is a picture indeed of the Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi with International Criminal Court prosecutor Karim Khan in Kinshasa last month. But also there is a story on Sudan mutual aid groups facing battle for survival, and also Tanzania jitters over Kenya-EU deal. EAC step in, promising to study likely impact on the pact, page 31 of the East African. That's about it from today's press. It's just about a minute after 7 a.m. Good morning, Uganda.
Well, before we move on, we also have details in the Uganda Gazette, which highlights some of the marriage, the oaths and acts that have been highlighted. The Commissioner for Oaths, the Marriage Act Notice, the Mining and Minerals Act, the Education, Pre-Primary, Primary and Post-Primary Act Notices, the Advocates Act Notice, the Companies Act Notice, the Insolvency Act Notice, the Electricity Act Notice, the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Regulations Notice, and the Industrial Property Act Notice, the Trademarks Act Registration of Applications Advertisements, and also we have supplements still in the Uganda Gazette, that is Act number 3, which is the Technical and Vocational Education and Training Act 2025, Statutory Instrument number 18, the Traffic and Road Safety Government Registration Plates Exemption Order 2025. Therein is also a legal notice, that is number 5, the Occupational Safety and Health Appointment of Inspectors Notice 2025. We have also Commissioners for Oaths Advocates Act Commission with a notice to all whom those may come. Greetings, and it shows that Akanyijuka Dennis, an advocate of the High Court, has been appointed to be a commissioner for oaths under the above mentioned act for so long as he continues to practice as such advocate and commission is not revoked. Also, Nairuba Joanita Bamsute, an advocate of the High Court, has been appointed to be Commissioner for Oaths under the above-mentioned Act. And also, Tim Isaac Jonathan, an advocate of the High Court, has been appointed to be a Commissioner for Oaths under the above-mentioned Act. And all these are signed by Alphonse Chigamoy Owini Dolo, the Chief Justice of Uganda. Well, that does it for the Uganda Gazette. For more details, just buy the paper and furnish yourself with more information. Now, we have two of the PO2. For us to be on air, there are people that are behind the scenes that make what we do possible. And among these are two young men that did graduate last week. One of them is Christopher Mulondo, who graduated from YMCA, and we are saying congratulations, Christopher Mulondo. And the other is Shafik Sebanobe, who graduated from Metropolitan University. That is Shafik Mulondo, looking all nice and accomplished, and now that is Shafik. Congratulations, gentlemen, and welcome to the world of work, where it doesn't get easier, but it gets more interesting. And for you, I wish you all the best, and may the sky not even be the limit in your future. Now, we are going to take a short break, and I'll leave you with Rowena Birungi with Ye Ndi. Our questions: how come Elon Musk can be in the Oval Office with a cape and addressing the president dressed like he's addressing someone that is a commoner, an ordinary person? So there are different conversations. This. And of course, when we go into the geopolitical issue of it all, it goes to show that Zelensky, despite how he was treated, doesn't have so much cards to play with right this time, and many political commentators are of the view this is the time he should agree on actually having a conversation with Vladimir Putin, so that they put the war behind them, because Ukraine and Russia have much more history together compared to these foreigners that are coming in for their own benefits. What's your say on that? I'd like to hear your views. Now, coming back here in Uganda, there was a celebration of the Archbishop of the Church of Uganda, 5 years of him being the Archbishop. That is the Most Reverend Stephen Kazimba Mugaru. And among his achievements in the last 5 years is him being able to collect and clear a 60 billion debt that the Church of Uganda House had, and now we have a sprawling building, beautiful, in the middle of Kampala. What have you been paying attention to this weekend? That's what I've been paying attention to, but I would like to hear from you. And of course, the team is here with me. That is Julie F. Nantaba Msisi and Chirabo Robert Nyonyintono. I'll go to Chirabo first of all, check on him, see how he's doing. Let's get this day started. Good morning, Chirabo.
Good morning. A new week, a new month, I must say, as well, because you were last here when you haven't really entered into that. But one thing that caught my attention is the robbery, the theft that has been happening on the bypass, where police has come out now to say that they are going to intensify operations aimed at curbing this crime. Now, very important to note is that this crime happens a particular time, then police brings their resources, it reduces, but then it resurfaces again. Now, the challenge we have, and what I want to bring to the interest of police, is the fact that these very people that are arrested are taken to police, then they go to court, but then they are later released. Why are they released? That there are no people who come to testify against these people. That's why you will hear at one time that, there is so much theft on this bypass, then police will come and swing, they'll arrest, you'll have a period of rest for about 5-6 months. Now, the same people when released are going to come back because they are never convicted. They are remandees up to a time when there is nobody to follow up, then they are back on the streets. So how does police and how will the communities help address this? So that these people are arrested, they are convicted, and they are sentenced. And then they go through what we call rehabilitation. Because in prisons, they only rehabilitate convicts, not remandees. Mm-hmm. Yes, Oli.
Very interesting, Robert. But also, yes, there is a problem, and it keeps, it goes away, then it comes back, goes away, then it comes back. But look at it this way. How about instead of treating the disease, we treat the symptoms, we treat the triggers? Because why do we have these rowdy youths on the Northern Bypass to begin with?
Well, first and foremost, yes, we have a very huge group of youth that are unemployed, a very huge group of youth that don't know what tomorrow holds for them. They don't see bright through their future. They're uneducated, they are unemployed, they're on substances and drug abuse. They live for a moment. They don't see what's happening. Now, then we have that jam that happens, a traffic jam, because these don't go for fast-moving vehicles. They target when there is slow movement of vehicles. So if you have what we call a black spot is that environment that is very conducive for a crime to be committed. And you have this group of youth, the two combined, then worsened by the fact that they will know. They will go sleep there, then they will come back. So those are the reasons why.
Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, good morning once again. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, this is time for our newsreel. It's 10 minutes past the hour of 7 o'clock. Welcome aboard if you're just joining us. We are delving into a discussion where we share personal perspectives on a topic of discussion. Now, today, we get to look at mpox and the cases which the Ministry of Health is reporting to be increasing. We have seen that because of the war in the western part of DRC, that many of the mpox patients have escaped from the clinics where they were being treated. I won't say that they have escaped into Uganda, but you also can't rule that out because many of the refugees coming in from that side are coming to Uganda as well as Rwanda. But when we look at the cases we have in the country, the hotspots have been mentioned to be especially places where we have a high degree of sex work. And this is affecting different communities around the country. So we are getting into this conversation. We will look at trigger factors, the symptoms, the causes of mpox, how is it spread, and how you can protect yourself. So be a part of the conversation. For any questions or any additions, we use the number 0709 602 592. Now, to have this conversation with me is Robert Chirabo, Nyonyintono, from Studio B, and right in Studio A with me is Julie F. Nantaba Mosisi. So welcome aboard. Now, that being said, Robert, I will start with you. First of all, help us understand how dire the situation is right now.
Well, thank you so much, Olive, and of course our viewer. Now I'll start with taking you back. It was last year in late July when we first registered 2 cases in Kasese. Now, like Olive, you rightly said, Kasese is a bordering district to the DRC, where we know mpox is really taking them by the throat. Now, thereafter, a case was registered in Mayuge and Amur. Now, from Amur, it came to Nakasongola district, where we had another case. And I think hell broke loose at Nakasongola because this is where now the disease went into communities, and it first entered what we call the fishing community. You know very well the livelihood of people are the fishermen. Now, when it went to Nakasongola, in the fishing community, and to be more specific, the sex workers. And we all know that sex workers keep on moving. Now that is where we saw it is said that this could have been the vectors that transported the disease into Kampala, Wakiso, Mbarara, and of course Nakasongola. Now, one may ask, what is mpox? Mpox is a viral disease similar to smallpox, which was eradicated 40 years ago. The signs, that is not what I'm going to go in for now, but to give you also how we are standing as of today, we have cumulative cases of 3,500. 3,500 people in our country have tested positive of having mpox. Now, affected districts, 80 districts in Uganda today have registered a case or cases of mpox. Now, the districts that are very active with transmission. What we mean active with transmission, this is where we are registering cases that yes, a new case has been registered, but the 80 are among those that we once registered a case. Now dead. So far we've lost 29 people to mpox as a country, 29. And when we look at average case per day, on a daily, the Center for Mpox receives between 50 to 70 people on daily. So this is how big the problem is. Olive, and Ugandans should know that every day they're receiving 50 to 70 confirmed cases of Mpox. We've lost 29 people, and so far over 3,500 people have been tested and confirmed to have Mpox.
Wow, interesting perspective. Now, Robert, if you can do quick math, between July 2024 and January 22nd, 2025, we had at the time registered 13 deaths, and at the time we had 2,209 cases. Now, you said currently we have 3,000, how many?
500.
3,500. So it shows that between Jan and February, the cases have actually increased by a huge number compared to the cases we registered as a country between July 2024 and January 2025. And also what I see is that probably Ugandans still lack information regarding how dire mpox is, and this is when I'll go to Julie here. Julie, please help us understand, first of all, how does one contract mpox? And for those that do maybe have an idea but still need a proper understanding, how bad does it get when apart from death? Because you may not die, but then there is, you know how you get an accident and you don't die, but then you suffer with the effects, the aftermath? Yes. So how bad, first of all, how does one get called to contract mpox, and two, how bad is it? How bad can it get? Because it seems like we're not taking it very seriously.
And indeed we're not. And indeed we're not, because I can imagine if the same measures that we had for COVID put in place, the same measures are being applied for mpox today, I think the story wouldn't be as it is right now. But looking into how it spread, number one, it spread through close body contact. And that is as simple as touching someone who's affected and infected by mpox, but also it goes as far as sexual intercourse and even kissing. But also through animals. For example, if you're into hunting, if you're into skinning, and even cooking them. So even animals are a contact point for mpox. But also through materials such as clothes, bed sheets, even contaminated clothes, contaminated bed sheets, but even needles. And then through pregnant persons who may pass the virus on to their unborn baby. So those are the few ways through which mpox is spread. But how bad is it? Death, well, is the worst, but in case you haven't died or one hasn't died, the idea is, and the reality is, that that lymph node effect alone, that rash on the skin, its effect alone is bad in regards to one's beauty, one's esteem. Recently, there's a picture of a baby, not even, I think, maybe 1 month or 2 months old, a baby who was probably born with mpox, and you could see the rashes. It's so heartbreaking to look at.
Okay,
so heartbreaking.
For some of us, before the government kicked chickenpox out of the country through different efforts by the government and the Ministry of Health, I once suffered from chickenpox, and it was bad.
Yes, I can imagine.
It was bad. What helped me to not have those scars, because I know people that have scars, adults, yes, was that my mom, the minute I had the first sign, she rushed me to the hospital. But I have had, and I would like for you to actually help us understand if there is an even greater difference between the chickenpox and the mpox. The blisters, are they bigger? How bad is it?
I think
and for adults like men and women, how does it affect them, especially in their private parts?
Yes, I think from what I've seen in regards to the pictures, now I've also been, I haven't suffered from smallpox or chickenpox, but I grew up, my brother suffered it, and I was around him the whole time. I never got affected when we were younger, but his blisters were not as bad as what I see with mpox. With mpox, it's really, really, allow me use the word ugly. It's ugly. I feel like it's even an understatement. I'm not so sure if you know, those blisters eventually dissolve as one goes on with time, but they're really, really bad. If they dry out, they dry out in a very, very, very not good-looking way to look at. So,
but away from the aesthetics of it all, like how you look after, let's look at how it affects the genitals.
Now, for the genitals, I mean, for starters, we all understand the, you know, the way the private areas are created, right? So that means the after effect is it could result into either something cancerous, or something worse than just having mpox and it's gone and dusted with. That means you could end up, you know, with more viral infections or bacterial infections. And we all know, especially for women, I'm not so sure about the anatomy of men in regards to that area, but at least for women, given the nature of, you know, exposed urethras, it means that the effect is worse. It could result into more and more issues that you have to deal with as a woman, more issues you have to take to the hospital, face injections, face medicines every now and again due to just the beginning of mpox. So I think it's not good at all. And if you ask me, what are we are not taking it as seriously as we should be as Ugandans, and I'm not so sure why, because I think the government is doing its level best in regards to sensitizing us, to making us aware of mpox in the nation, but our culture, the way we are treating ourselves in public day-to-day mannerisms, we are completely not aware. Washing hands is not there. I don't see it at different spots like it was at, during the COVID season. Sanitizing at checkpoints, I don't see it as much. There's nothing much we are doing as a people for ourselves in regards to mpox, and I think we're not taking it any serious.
Okay. Now, according to the World Health Organization, the issue about mpox, it's not only, it doesn't only affect people sexually, or you do not only contract it through sexual intercourse. Just being in close contact with a person that has mpox, you are at a very high risk of contracting the disease. I'm just supplementing what Julie has shared with us. And when we have already looked at the symptoms, I'm sure by now, if you have a smartphone, or if you've been watching what the media is sharing, you have seen the blisters, the pain. There is a video that went viral at some point where someone, I think, was in Entebbe grade B, where the mpox patients are being treated, and she was sharing how grievous this disease was, and she was encouraging people to be very careful, to avoid crowded places, to ensure that they take care of themselves, because, I mean, at the end of the day, the worst result can actually be death. And of course, we've looked at who are at risk, and this includes anyone that comes into contact. Even babies in the womb can be affected. So, Robert, putting everything that we have shared into consideration, how is mpox treated? With COVID-19, one of the things we did, treated and avoided, I think let's look at them interchangeably. One of the things we did for COVID-19, we wore face masks, we washed our hands, you know, we were advised to avoid crowded places. We were locked down. That was the biggest deterrent that we had. How come we're not seeing some of these things being done in different communities? You've been to town, you've entered arcades. We don't have hand washing facilities like we had with COVID-19. What's creating that stark difference?
Well, Olive, mpox is a very interesting yet dangerous disease. Now, first, let's see Uganda's case. Where have we had the biggest challenge? I want to tell you, since we registered the first case, mpox has been very much so in sexual workers. And borders, I'm talking about the cases registered by government. Most patients that come are sexual workers, and when you go to this isolation center in Entebbe, truth be told, you find many of them there. Border riders, I don't know why. Maybe because they get in close contact carrying people.
I think that's the most case.
Taxi drivers and their conductors. These have also contributed. People that own Vivanda, I don't know the word to use. This is where they can watch
local cinemas or theaters, yes.
So those have been the biggest group. And according to the incident commander manager, Dr. Chobe Henry, he said, however, now the scaring information is that since January, we are seeing a shift to now people of higher social status also now contracting the disease. So how it's treated, I'm not an expert there, because what I know is when a person shows signs and symptoms, they are taken to the isolation center. I've seen some being smeared, certain things I think similar to what we give to children when they have chicken pox because smallpox was eradicated about 40 years ago, but chicken pox is still present with us. Now, they are isolated and it's better managed there. That's why government emphasized no health facility except the government isolation center that is authorized to treat mpox. They say it's a new disease and the doctors may not have the expertise because the people there have been specifically trained on how to handle that. Now, it is shocking, I think, because we've not really given it that information to show people that these are the statistics like we are doing today, apart from adverts running and a few messages here. But when you look at mpox, one would say wash of hands is very critical because we know when you touch someone or you touch a contaminated surface, there are chances of you getting that. But I'm not seeing the hand washing facilities. Maybe because these people are being isolated, some are going silently, that Monica, you discover, I have a fever, I have a fever, you know, then you begin seeing this, then you take yourself, because when you go to the nearest clinic, they'll tell you, run to Entebbe as soon as, or as fast as you can. So a person goes there, recovers, and comes back in society. Works on the skin or somehow like that. So it's still something that is silent and may not have attracted that attention that we need. But actually, it is a lion in the house. Any of us can be a victim.
That's right.
Because moving away from the class that I've told you, and now it is going to people of higher status, that means you may not be shocked. And when they are touched, usually, we see more action. But because it has been in a group of people, and for Uganda's case, research has shown that it has been more spread by people who engage with sex workers and sex workers. One research was done in Kawempa alone where one sex worker spread mpox to 40 men.
Okay, now Chiraba, putting that in mind, what is the incubation period from the time someone contracts it to the time they start to see the symptoms?
Well, some have talked of 21 days. And it is usually when someone has begun those symptoms that they are able to pass it on. Yes.
Okay.
But also, allow me just interject. Robert has addressed the issue of hand washing. And don't you think it's an issue of discipline in our midst, just as a people? We are quite indisciplined. I mean, looking back at the COVID season, there were hand washing facilities for, in almost every space, but still, people would not wash hands anyways. So I think even our own discipline, our nature, our culture, our mannerisms play a big role in the spread of mpox. Things as simple as washing hands are very, very hard. It seems simple, but it's such a task for many humans. You find that someone just adamantly doesn't want to wash hands and they'll just place their hands under a tap for just a sprinkle of water to walk away to show you that I've done it by duty, but not necessarily I've done it to actually fight something that we're fighting as a nation.
Okay. Now, let's look at women. Julie, what are the effects of mpox, especially amongst pregnant mothers?
Effects, interesting. Number one, as we addressed it earlier, it's the fact that it's passed on to the fetus, to the unborn baby, but also the fact that there are high chances of one having a miscarriage or having a stillbirth. And then, of course, intrauterine fetal demise in there, serious illness. Having a pregnancy is just quite a problem in itself, but having serious illness from mpox is a whole lot to deal with on another level. And really, those are the few things, from the baby to the mother, looking at death or not death, the after effect in case...
Or even an abortion? Like losing a miscarriage?
Yes, a miscarriage or a stillbirth.
Or a stillbirth.
The worst comes to the worst.
Okay, so more reason for us to protect ourselves. And according to the World Health Organization, there is a vaccine for mpox. But in the case of Uganda, Robert, briefly as you close, tell us if we have these vaccines, and if we do, in which areas is the government putting the main focus of vaccination?
Well, thank you so much. Actually, we received the first batch of vaccines around a month ago, and these were 10,000 vaccines that we received. And they were given to these groups I've talked about in areas of Kawempe, Machindye, and also a bit of those in Nakasongola. But basically Kawempe and Machindye, I don't know, but I think these are the most areas. So recently, again, we are receiving 100,000 vaccines as a country for Mpox. Now, these are MBV vaccines. They are MBV vaccines, the same vaccines that are used for smallpox, which I said was eradicated 40 years back, are the same vaccines we are using, because experts say these diseases, if I may use a word not medical, are more or less sisters. So this is not a new vaccine for Ugandans to get scared. It has been around. It is just the same vaccine that can work for Mpox that they are now administering. So government has been able to secure these vaccines, and for these, they are giving them to the vulnerable communities, the border, the sexual workers in these areas. So they are getting these vaccines. So that's how we are standing with the MBV vaccines are here with us. And of course, we are receiving another bunch.
Okay. Julie, your parting remarks.
I think for me, it's discipline. As a people, we lack the discipline. It looks like we are almost allow me be the devil's advocate here. I think if we hadn't had a lockdown during COVID, it would have been worse than it was. So just imagine it happens even for Mpox, that we have a lockdown. Perhaps, just saying, but at least let's have the discipline. If it's washing hands, wash your hands with soap. Don't just place your hands under a tap to have a sprinkle of water out of duty.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being a part of the conversation, and we really thank you for always tuning in to watch Good Morning Uganda. Now, according to the World Health Organization, if you have had Mpox before, there are chances that you may have built your immunity and are not in position to contract it again, but they don't know 100% if you cannot get it. So they advise that you continue protecting yourself, but if someone within your care contracts Mpox, you, the person that has had it before, apparently are actually the best to be a caregiver, because still probably your immunity is much better than those that have never contracted the disease. So let's take care of ourselves. This is Women's Month. Let's celebrate women by taking care of ourselves and those within our reach and our homesteads. Keep watching Good Morning Uganda, because we have so much more coming your way.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
International Women's Day is celebrated annually on 8th March. It is a time to reflect on progress made, to call for change, and to celebrate acts of courage and determination play by women. On Saturday, 8th March, Uganda will join the rest of the world to commemorate International Women's Day. The national celebrations will be held in Jankwanzi district under the theme Accelerate Action for Gender Equality. The President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be the chief guest. Join us for the live broadcast to witness outstanding women receive medals in recognition of their achievements and contributions to the country. Happy Women's Day.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
We appreciate each and every one of you in this room, starting with the first team that's the influencers, to the private sector, the public sector, our sister agencies, Civil Aviation Authority, Private Sector Foundation, and our Wonderful Authority, Uganda Tourism Board, which is part of us, with the CEO and chairman, the chairperson, the media, the staff of the ministry, the staff of Speak Resort. We appreciate all of you. And maybe before I speak, I should have mentioned that Mr. Pereira and the Speak Resort Munyonyo offered this venue for free. So we thank you for that. And we shall be announcing what else has come in as part of the sponsorship. But we thought it was a good thing to have the launch of Poate right here, where Poate 2025 will be, so that a number of us can get the feel of what this is to offer. It is with great pride and excitement that we announce the 9th edition of Poate as we continue to position Uganda and the East African region as a premier tourism destination. Over the years, like everybody has said, I think the CEO made a very good analysis. Poate has grown from strength to strength. And last year, when we had Poate the first time at Speak Resort Munyonyo, everybody said it was the best of its kind, and most especially because of the world-class venue. And so I believe that Poate 2025 will be even bigger and better. So we have been growing from strength to strength, solidifying its place as a leadership platform and a marketplace for tourism buyers and sellers. Last year's edition, also held right here in Munyonyo, was a resounding success, bringing together key players in the global travel trade who also expressed interest in Uganda and Africa as a whole. This growth is a testament to our collective commitment to advancing the tourism sector and ensuring that Uganda is at the forefront of global travel. As part of the East African Community's regional marketing initiatives, Poate was identified as a strategic platform to showcase our tourism potential and to attract investment. I was very excited when I heard Dr. Pereira saying that when people come, even when they have come for this expo, and they see the beauty of Uganda and the potential, we even in that process attract investors. So I take this opportunity to warmly welcome our East African partner states to exhibit and promote the region alongside Uganda. Together, we can elevate East Africa's visibility on the global tourism map, and we can reinforce our shared vision of a thriving, interconnected tourism industry. This event is not just an exhibition. It is about creating real opportunities. Poate enables Ugandan tour operators and all other service providers to connect with key tourism markets at an affordable cost, facilitating linkages that drive business, growth, and economic impact. Additionally, it allows travel vendors and media professionals to experience firsthand the beauty and uniqueness of Uganda's tourism offerings, giving them the confidence to promote our country to the world. And like the CEO UTB was saying, the government invests, even the private sector invests, because they will be paying for space at the expo. But at the end of it all, there should be a benefit to government, to the private sector, to everyone that participates. So Poate 2025 is a key milestone in our journey towards achieving the tenfold growth strategy. I think Mr. Nyazi talked about this, and maybe Peter Mwanja. The government has come up with this strategy of growing the economy tenfold. And for tourism, I keep saying, whereas government is saying tenfold, for us it's actually supposed to be 25-fold. So as you may know, this strategy is a vision we have set to increase tourism's contribution to our GDP by 10 times or 25 times in the coming years. Achieving this ambitious goal requires collective efforts from all stakeholders, both government and private sector, from the local communities, international partners, and events like Poate play a critical role in realizing this vision. By attracting global attention, bringing international travel agents, tour operators, and investors to Uganda, Poate will open doors for new partnerships and investments that will propel Uganda's tourism industry to new heights. The theme for this year's Poate has already been said, tourism and sustainable transformation. I just wanted to emphasize that this underscores our commitment to two critical areas. The first one being greening the tourism value chain to ensure that our industry grows in an environmentally responsible manner, and two, embracing digital transformation by leveraging technology, enhance tourism services, improve accessibility, and drive global competitiveness. Sustainability in tourism is vital for preserving our cultural heritage, for protecting the environment, and ensuring long-term economic benefits. The Pearl of Africa Tourism Expo will showcase Uganda's commitment to sustainable tourism through a variety of actions and initiatives. The importance of tourism to the country's economic and social transformation has been underscored in various government policy frameworks. I am glad to see the positive response of the private sector in promoting and investing in the country, and Poate is an important platform through which the government is supporting and scaling up these initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, the build-up to Poate has a number of events, and today we are launching the Explore Uganda, Tell Your Story campaign. In this program, we challenge Ugandans to visit our key attractions and share the experiences in writing, pictures, and videos using social media platforms. And I hope this campaign is going to go as far and wide as possible, especially with the young people who are very good with these platforms. And we would really like to see you embrace this campaign and share your stories. This campaign is designed to naturally build awareness and visibility of the diverse attractions in the country. I call upon all Ugandans to embrace the campaign, which will climax at the Poate 2025. Post your story using the designated hashtags and stand a chance to win and experience even more of the Pearl of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, the future of Uganda's tourism is bright as we officially launch Poate 2025 and the Tell Your Story campaign. I encourage all stakeholders to take full advantage of these platforms, forge partnerships, explore new markets, and contribute to the sustainable growth of our industry. It is therefore my great pleasure and honor, on behalf of the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife and Antiquities, on behalf of my ministers who are not here, the Commissioner told me we have so many activities going on. It is my great pleasure to declare the Pearl of Africa Expo 2025 officially launched. The God and my country.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to direct your attention to the screens as we unveil the look of the Poate 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the look. The image of the Poate 2025.
Uganda, welcome back from GMU Tourism Express. It's now time for GMU Business, and we are looking at residents of Kasensero and Lukongola landing sites in Chotera district who have appealed to government over increasing cases of robbery and killing of fishermen. Now, they attribute the crimes to job scarcity and declining fish stocks in Lake Victoria. They vowed to support a new candidate in the upcoming elections, Kaka Ismail Lubega Uthman, on the NRM ticket. The Kakuto constituency in Chotera district borders Tanzania and Lake Victoria and is home to fishing communities that are now grappling with increased insecurity. Residents claim criminal gangs have taken advantage of dwindling fish stocks, leading to a rise in attacks on fishermen. Many have lost their boats and engines to hijackers, as others have even been killed. Kasensero resident Batiso Snow lamented that in December and January alone, they have lost 10 colleagues attacked by unknown assailants who stole their boats and engines. The residents allege that even when suspects are arrested, they are later released. And apart from insecurity, residents are also struggling with poor healthcare services and bad roads, making it difficult for border riders to transport passengers. Residents say they want leaders who address their concerns. Now, moving on to matters of migrants, over 400 returned migrants from Kampala Metropolitan have acquired skills in financial management and how to generate business ideas. After the training, each will be supported with a 500,000 Uganda shillings grant by the International Labour Organization. Now, over 400 returned migrants, especially women from the districts of Wakiso, Kampala, Mpigi, and Mukono, have acquired skills in financial management, courtesy of Wezesha Impact, with support from the International Labour Organization. After the training, each will be supported with a 500,000 Uganda shilling grant by the International Labour Organization, and the beneficiaries commended the initiative, saying they plan to start their own businesses. Local leaders in Mukono districts appreciated the support offered to the returned migrants, and the returned migrants have been trained by Wezesha Impact with support from the International Labour Organization under the Better Regional Migration Management Project. Now, I believe that projects impacting all persons are ones worth celebrating. But also looking at matters financial empowerment, university students have been urged to build sustainable financial life while at school. Now, speaking during the launch of Campus Version program by Family Uplift Uganda, a non-governmental organization at Makerere University over the weekend, the executive director, Munduru Mwajuma, says that the aim of the program is to empower students with financial literacy. Family Uplift Uganda and the Financial Education Academy, in partnership with Coca-Cola Uganda, have rolled out a program, the Campus Version, a youth economic inclusion program to impact 3,200 youths in 2025. Now, this program will enable youths build a sustainable financial life while in school and after, encourage entrepreneurship, to encourage in waste management to be able to build wealth. The students were also encouraged to build successful careers by emulating the lifestyles of the successful speakers of the day. Amongst the speakers was Makerere Dean of Students, Winnie Kabumbuli, Miss Munduri Mwajuma, founder of Family Uplift Uganda, Captain Farida Ashaba, a pilot and businesswoman. Others were Miss Ndagire Christine, a Westpreneur, and Mr. Chizito Isaiah, a management consultant. Now, for me, this is to urge university students to seek and engage such opportunities while there's still the time and platform, because life after campus also requires one to grow, and grow than decline in life. But that's it from GMU Business. Julie F. Nantabamusisi is my name.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't know.
can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000 or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily or use the MyMTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
International Women's Day is celebrated annually on 8th March. It is a time to reflect on progress made, to call for change and to celebrate acts of courage and determination play by women. On Saturday, 8th March, Uganda will join the rest of the world to commemorate International Women's Day. The national celebrations will be held in Changwanzi district under the theme Accelerate Action for Gender Equality. The President of the Republic of Uganda, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, will be the chief guest. Join us for the live broadcast to witness outstanding women receive medals in recognition of their achievements and contributions to the country. Happy Women's Day.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the Parish Development Model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The Parish Development Model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
We're going to be talking about farming, but it's not me that's going to do that.
My name is Hava K. Luanga.
My name is Larry Charles K.
Let's go!
Mixed farm is a type of farming that involves growing crops and raising livestock. This is our the spice garden and for the vegetables.
My first favorite spice has to be black pepper.
What's black pepper in Uganda?
Kamulali or mudagavu.
What? We're going to talk about the sechunga. We're going to see how big it is, as big as Larry's head. And then we're going to talk about the mangada. So we're going to get there. We have still so many farms to visit. And I would like to hear from you. This is the Little Farmer Show, and we are bringing coolness back to farming. See you!
This week on UBC.
My name's Jung Gwonjong. I'm the boss of this entire hotel. My duties include heavy lifting, spreading happiness, and driving fancy cars.
I'm responsible for the area by the hotel entrance.
And I officially moved into the sunroom.
You think you can cut my share of the rent?
Say what?
To maximize my space, I needed to improvise a bit. That day, she walked into my life.
Hi.
So, insurance, right?
Huh? Like that. I can.
Don't let him scam you. We don't want your investments or insurance.
I met the woman of my dreams. Most of the time, our lives are lackluster. When you add all the brilliant moments, or what we call miracles. Welcome.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda, once again. It's so good to have you here. 3 minutes to 8 a.m. in the morning. And seeing as women are considered the weaker group in society, and yet they have important topics to talk about, everything environmental degradation. They have a strong voice that is sometimes rarely heard. We are addressing that in today's agenda. And because it's Women's Week, seeing as 8th March is here coming through on Saturday, today we are celebrating women in environmental sustainability. Now we are highlighting the role of women in environmental conservation, challenges and opportunities in climate activism, but also policy advocacy and sustainable solutions. And in studio with me to highlight this matter is Twikirize Maureen, a founder and CEO, Climate Impact Initiative. My name is Julie F. Nantaba Mosisi, to talk with you and with Maureen in regards to environmental conservation and degradation, but also to be a part of the show. Do call 0709, WhatsApp, that is 0709 602 592. Good morning, Maureen.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Women's Day is coming up on the 8th. How do you feel?
I feel great. That is the day that was put nationally to celebrate women's contribution to sustainability, to celebrate their contribution to the fight against the climate change challenges, because as you can see, women bear the brunt of climate change affects them disproportionately, because when you look at, they are the ones that are charged with the tasks of child caring, preparing the food, collecting the water, collecting the firewood.
Yes,
so
indeed.
that automatically implies that really women need to be celebrated and for their contributions towards sustainable development. And actually, sustainability is not just something that it is not entirely a role. It is an opportunity as well.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so much for that. And before we even go ahead of ourselves, let's just come back a bit and just talk about your journey. Can you share with us your journey into environmental sustainability? What inspired you to start climate change activism, a climate change initiative in Uganda? Where does your story begin?
Wow. My story is deeply rooted in my passion for social justice. And this came about on my journey, on my academic journey.
through my bachelor's and my master's, I got to interface that climate change, the framework of policies affects, determines on the sustainable development that we pursue, not only as women, but every individual, because sustainability, sustainable development is pursued by everyone. So from there, I also got to realize that women can participate in these policy framework spaces to have their voices incorporated in those policy frameworks. And that is when their views can be heard. So growing in my community, I saw farmers in my community struggle with the changing weather patterns that would affect their livelihoods, because women are growing food to sell. Some of the women are single mothers and they are paying school fees for their children. So this came at the forefront after my studies. I said, I'm going to make up something that will advocate for policies, a platform, a forum where the women can advocate for policies that can encourage them to take up these leadership spaces and have their voices incorporated into policies, because it is a matter of representation in these policy spaces that we can have the grassroots views and realities and the stories captured in those frameworks that can be put out there. Yeah.
Now, Maureen is the founder and CEO Climate Impact Initiative, and she really is passionate, as you have heard, that after her school, and the fact that she's also passionate about social justice, she sought and saw gaps in what women face, yet they deal directly with the climate more than the male counterparts, and she indeed felt that she had a voice to put out there and something to do about it. Now, just throw more light on what Climate Impact Initiative does, and what impact has it had so far?
Yeah, we were founded in 2023. So in that less period of existence, we have empowered women, over 10,000 women and young people in climate resilience projects. We have also trained them in climate smart agriculture and raised awareness, especially to the youth, those who do not know that we have policies existing, but they are not effectively implemented. We have also empowered these women that it's true you can take up these leadership spaces and speak up to yourselves. So far the impact is that we have been at community-led awareness level through campaigns and the social media engagement of the youth to enable them realize their power, that they have the power to actually influence these policies. Yes, and we have had, I was glad when one of my people said, Maureen, I am giving you a business idea. Can you come up with a climate education club? So you can see the zeal is already taking shape, that she would like to birth this into something. So actually she's a volunteer with us, and I can see actually her engagement and contribution is really top-notch in regards to influences policy. She's so vibrant, and I can say that if you with these spaces, if the youth are really open to join these spaces, they can acquire those skills that they need, because life is about skills.
That's true.
Yeah, when you have skills, you have the power to speak up. You don't shy away from the truth. You address the idea the way it is, because these are our mothers that we need to help. Yeah.
You've talked about the issue of skilling and engaging and impacting women in the community through social media. Now, my mind goes to a woman deep in maybe Chiboga. And yes, I understand social media is what we are using right now. It's what is currently, you know, on trending. It's what everyone, the global village right now, it requires us to be a part of the social media, you know, run. But if I look at a woman deep in Chiboga, for example, who obviously deals with the environment directly. She wakes up in the morning to probably dig and have food, plant and have food for her children substantially, yeah? Subsistence farming. And looking at a woman of that sort and talking about social media, probably the phone she owns is a button phone and not a smartphone. Yeah. She's not even interested in owning a smartphone. When you talk about social media, how do you reach a woman like that one deep in the village and still teach her to fight for her environment, teach her to sustain and be one who champions the environment goal?
We have had engagements at community level because, okay, we have different mechanisms to reach out to different audiences. Social media is entirely targeting the youth. And the woman in Chivoga, we reach that woman through community-led projects. Especially on tree planting, we've trained them on climate-smart agriculture. We have trained them on sustainable farming practices, especially on organic fertilizers. How can they use organic fertilizers to preserve the soil as well as preserving the environment? On how to preserve, to recycle and reuse. Recycle and reuse. We had a project in recycle and reuse where we encourage them to use the plastic bottles to recycle them, and some of them have made sofas out of them. So purposely how we reach them out to is we go there and engage them. We go there and speak to them, we listen to their stories, we engage them, it is a one-on-one interaction because that enables us to capture the grassroots voices of that person in Chivoga and what they are doing. Do they know that there is climate change? Do they know that the environment should be conserved? Do they know that we have policies that govern the environment? So we take that awareness there. We physically reach out to them. Yes.
Now you are watching UBC Good Morning Uganda, and on the agenda today we are talking about everything environmental conservation, and in studio with us is Twikirize Maureen. She is the founder and CEO of Climate Impact Initiative. Now, to be a part of the show, in case you have any questions for her, 0709-602-592. Now, Maureen, as a leader, what challenges have you faced as a leader and a woman leading?
Wow. I've faced quite a lot of challenges, but one of the major challenges that usually stand out for all of us ladies, I don't know, and for the youth as well, is the stereotyping. Like you reach out to someone, and actually most people think that the policy negotiation space should be left for men. They still believe that is a woman's work. So when they see us there, yeah, this is, to let you know, this is a male-dominated space. But regardless, we thrive. And the next issue is about funding, of course. That will always be an issue. To mention it, at Climate Impact Initiative Uganda, we are organizing a youth-led dialogue on migration and development, which is due for September 2025. And our target is that the insights from this discussion, because the topic is demystifying the intersectionality of migration, rights, livelihoods, and development policy. We intend that the discussions from this dialogue will inform the upcoming COP30 and the compact and other global forum, like the compact on migration, safe migration, and that one. So here we face a challenge of funding. It is hard to access the funds to run such a dialogue. So actually, I would like to call on the partners, the private sector, the government entities to support us, to come and be with us on this journey so we can scale up the impact of of women leadership in climate change, in tackling climate change challenges. Another issue is, of course, low, ineffective environmental policies and lack of the know of those policies. When we go out to the people, you find that some people lack that education, lack that awareness that this is a policy that is in existence and it should be implemented like that. So in actual sense, they are doing things out of not knowing. So I think we need, that is actually what enables me to say that we need more of these dialogues, and that also verifies the support that we are calling upon people to come and give to us. That people need these dialogues for awareness creation, to know also their role in conserving the environment, in water management, in sustainable development. And to speak to, I know His Excellency, our President, you're really interested in development of this country. We call upon your support on this dialogue, on our initiatives to enable us scale up the impact. Yeah.
Now, from the way you're speaking, I understand you're facing challenges as a woman, but it shows me that you also have hope. So how best can other women be encouraged to lead the conversation on climate change impact and environmental conservation?
My message to other women that would like to join that space would be, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, believe in your idea, believe in your knowledge, believe in your voice, trust your voice. Then speak up, stand up, speak up. When you see, we have champions at the grassroots level. They see someone who is encroaching on the wetland and they will make a call. I am also inspired by the Solar Sister Uganda. They are really doing an impactful work in the communities. And the tree adoption people, they are also doing a lot in as far as this environmental sustainability is concerned. You can imagine if, and our target as climate impact is to at least plant 1 million trees by 2030. So imagine if we could have other people in tree adoption do the same thing. This will know that we are combining efforts to really bring it out better in as far as this fight is concerned. Because climate change is not an individual fight. It requires a multi-sectoral approach to tackle it. Yes.
Yes. We are celebrating women in environmental sustainability. And in case you are just joining us, with me in studio is Twikilize Maureen. She is the founder and CEO of Climate Impact Initiative. Now, I know you could be passionate about everything climate impact, climate change, climate conservation, and environmental sustainability. Do get in touch on our WhatsApp number 0709602592. Now, it's at that point I also want Maureen and I to delve deep into the impact of women when it comes to environmental sustainability. Let's dig deep into that conversation, Maureen, and look at how crucial is a woman's participation when it comes to environmental sustainability.
Women's contribution to environmental sustainability, of course, it's no debate. It is crucial. Because women experience first-hand effects, because they are the ones that grow the food. They are the ones that, in case effects of climate change come up, let's say displacement and migration, the women are the ones that carry on the mantle. They have to make sure household items are carried. I think you've seen voyages of migrants moving. The women are carrying mattresses. The women are pulling goats. The women are carrying children. They are even charged with that mantle of collecting firewood and water. So if their views are not part of of the discussions are not part of this move. That implies that the discussions and the policies are leaving out the relevant voices, the relevant conversations that would actually bring out the impact, quite frankly, within the resolutions and recommendations. So, and more uniquely, women's approach to climate change usually focus, they are both social and economic targeting, if you can realize. Because a woman will know, if I grow this food, I can pick some for my children, for the family, and I can sell some and provide what I can't grow.
If she's empowered.
If she's empowered. So as you can see from there, the women's views are crucial because they have a wired, like, they have various aspects to represent. The fact that they are affected by climate change issues disproportionately from the men. This is a different relationship. The way climate change affects me is different from the way climate change affects a man.
Now, on that note, allow me, in fact, delve deeper into that. How do women's perspectives on climate change differ from those of the men?
Well, I want to speak on the men's side. I won't bring in the comparison because this would generate more debates. Yes. And the fact that we are on air, I would like to speak for a woman, the fact that this is a Women's Week. So women's contributions, for example, when I'm giving a recommendation on maybe a certain policy, what is in my mind is, one, my family, how they're going to survive, and the environment as well. How can I conserve this environment for my future generation? Which is not on the money side. I can give an example. When we have these workshops, and we have both men and women, when you bring sodas on the logistics part, bring the soda and you give to the woman, she will drink and leave some. Where is she taking the remaining part? To the child.
To the child at home.
But a man will drink his soda and leave, carry it in the stomach and go. So to me, I think women have a wider perspective on the solutions of climate change issues, and incorporating them into these spaces is actually so crucial, because to me, sustainability is also opportunity. It is profit. It's profitability, because not only to the businesses, but to also the normal person, the layman person. Yes.
Very interesting. Now, still looking at women and the depth of a woman's involvement in environmental sustainability, are there examples you can share of women who have been a part of this journey in Uganda?
You want names?
Yes, please.
Yeah, one of them that I would mention is...
And that is aside you.
Yes.
Because you're here with us.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
please.
One of them would be, and maybe this is an appreciation, Honorable Amongin Jacqueline. She has really run out to every space in regards to climate change. She's in Pakja. She's also a representative at the East African community. She really inspires me to keep moving. Then also a lady at IOM, she's called Sarah. She really is always available in terms of climate, especially on climate-induced migration. She's really always available, and I really would like to appreciate her for that, her contribution to Uganda as a nation. And to me, she's the one I know to represent the international relations in terms of climate change solutions. So she's really standing out for Climate Impact Initiative Uganda. And other women, of course, they are there. I am not going to mention everyone by name, but they are there, and I appreciate them in a special way. Yes.
Now let's talk matters policy and advocacy, because it's where your heart is. And we'll start off with what are the biggest climate challenges Uganda faces today?
The biggest issues that Uganda, in terms of policy, we have the best policies in the world, but on paper, they are on paper. So the biggest challenges that we face in Uganda is the ineffective or lack of effective implementation of those policies, enforcement actually. So if these policies, because we have the climate change, the national climate change policy, is it 2015? If all these policies can be implemented effectively, we wouldn't be having challenge because they are the best policies that we could ever have. Then also I think, yes, corruption, I won't hesitate to mention it. And to me, I would really propose that those who, for example, those who encroach on wetlands should face real punishment, should face the law. So instead of now, you know, but if we stipulate and streamline these policies and put them to use, they would be a good catch for Uganda in as far as the fight against climate change is concerned, because that would mean that it would even listen on, you know, enhance people's livelihoods, bring down poverty levels, because people would know, I am conserving this for the future, reducing carbon prints. And
so that means that the implementation actually doesn't even gong a louder sound to citizens on a day-to-day. They are, in a way, they are not aware. And if they are supposed to be aware, if at all these policies are implemented.
Yes, they are silent. And that is why dialogues in these spaces are necessary to create that awareness. The media, like what you're doing now, giving women a space to share. So you don't know what woman is watching there and what they are going to derive out of this conversation and take on and implement in their communities. That would maybe create more of that that we want to see as women activists, as women in environmental sustainability. So yeah, keep doing this because it is going to scale us up to the next level.
That is UBC TV, Inspiring Uganda. And in studio with me is Twikirize Maureen. She is the founder and CEO of Climate Impact Initiative. And we are celebrating women in environmental sustainability. So if you have anything on your mind, feel free to send a WhatsApp message to 0709602592. Now, Maureen, let's talk about the government. Do you think Uganda's policies on environmental conservation are effective? What has the government done so far? And what do you expect the government to do?
Yeah, like I said, the government has done a lot in coming up with those policies, but the issue is that they are on paper. They are silent. So my recommendation to the government is to actually invest in community women-led initiatives to enable them to have that zeal, to also feel that someone is supporting them. Yes, I appreciate the government's initiative on PDM. And I am aware, as I interacted with the women at the grassroots level, they are really using and putting it to use in terms of climate smart agriculture. So that is an appreciation to the government, that the PDM is really working wonders, and the women down there, they really appreciate that contribution. Next is I would recommend the government to support us on maybe the value addition. Because after training them in climate smart agriculture, yes, they have produced. Like one of the women was telling me that she wants to now start extracting sunflower, extracting oil out of the sunflower that she grows instead of selling it raw.
Yeah.
So maybe the government can support such women, yes, and do that value addition to boost their livelihood, to increase their earning out of the skills that we've imparted to them. Then the government can also support them in creating awareness, maybe capacity building, build their capacity, train them, mentor them, and also allow their views to be incorporated in the policy frameworks. Like let them be at the policy negotiation tables, and that will allow that their views are represented, and of course the recommendations that contain their voices will be favorable. So it's an onward, a moving forward implementation.
In fact, when you talk about women being at the table, I'm reminded of, you know, the government is currently, you know, pushing for projects of encouraging Ugandans to use more gas than charcoal. And one thing for sure, like you've mentioned, and like we've all know really, is the fact that women are the very first people who interact with the environment primarily, firsthand. And when you talk about charcoal, it's still women who use charcoal to cook. So when you talk about gas, and still I'm going back to a woman deep down in Kanungu who is used to using her charcoal, her firewood, and access to gas is more town related than it is to her. Would you shortly speak into what your perspective is in regards to government's fight for the environment in emphasizing the use of gas, banning the use of charcoal, but then also the realities on ground of how can this woman deep down in Kanungu access gas affordably to cook things like beans. I understand as women, we understand that when you, for example, cook beans, you have to first boil. And sometimes you think about the cost of gas. To boil beans for them to be softer so that you now fry them, it's costly. Then you resort back to charcoal or firewood. So in regards to sustaining the environment, burning charcoal, accessing gas, and the realities on ground. To speak more into that.
Actually, you've reminded me someone was saying that, no, we can't have one source of energy. You need your charcoal, you need gas, you need electricity. So already that shows that someone is not going to transition entirely to gas. Why? Because the financial costs, they are looking at how can I minimize on the gas expenditure as well as the electricity expenditure and the charcoal. So as if these three have to coexist.
Yes.
But speaking on behalf of the woman deep in Kanungu, I would say this was entirely an urban approach to climate change. It's an urban approach. First of all, the person in Kanungu might even not know how to use that gas. Might not know. But maybe I recommend the government to first build capacity, to teach them, to train them how to use them, how it operates, and also maybe to show how, because actually when you weigh gas and charcoal, in my home I used to use charcoal, but I realized a sack I buy at 100,000, refilling a gas, a 5 or 6 kilogram, even a 13 kg gas cylinder is around the same price. So, and it actually takes the same period to get done. So, but for people think charcoal is cost effective, which is actually not the case. So people need to know these issues on ground, that gas is actually the same, it is an equivalent of charcoal in terms of expenditure. but not equivalent, because the other one is not environment friendly. So even in terms of hygiene, we should urge people to weigh on those small issues in order to adopt clean energy entirely. So for a person deep down in Kanungu, really, I would encourage them, I would recommend them to maybe, I know they can have neighbors who are studied, or they can access someone who has gone to school, and they can take charge of such leadership opportunities and training to explain to them in their local languages, to explain to them, maybe help them weigh the advantages against the disadvantages, and also train them on how to operate such a technology.
And that's where the government comes in regards to sensitization and allowing women to sit at the table. But
and the fact that there's this PDM, they can actually leverage on that. That is a great opportunity for women, and I advise women-led initiatives to take opportunity of PDM, to keep in their groups and take opportunity of this PDM. Yes.
We are celebrating women in environmental sustainability this Women's Week, and to be part of the conversation, WhatsApp to 0709602592. Now, Maureen, let's talk grassroots matters. How can policymakers and grassroots activists collaborate better?
Wow. One of the area they can collaborate in is the partnerships on initiatives. For example, like the way we are planning a youth-led dialogue on migration and development, we are seeking partners to come and partner with us to scale up this impact. And the government can also contribute technical expertise and speak to them. Can have the technical expert team from the ministries, from several government MDAs, to come and speak to the grassroots communities. And in exchange, they will give them the voices. They will tell them the stories of what they are doing, what is on the ground, and this can be a collaboration on how to generate their policies to ensure both views are represented. They can also collaborate on education, capacity building. They can train them, they can mentor them, they can ensure, because Uganda, we also have domestic policies that need to be driven from that grassroots in communities. Because when you talk about peace and security, the government can collaborate with the grassroots communities to bring up that peace and security, because they are the community watchdogs. Yeah, more on collaboration is about the faith-based organizations, because those play a critical role on mindset change. So this can be another area of partnership and collaboration of the government with the grassroots level, because they really watch everything and they know how to react. Yes. And also, I also would recommend a toll-free line, maybe to be a mode of communication between the grassroots and the government MDAs. Yeah, because that would ensure that in times of an issue that needs immediate attention, they can be availed with information, and that we never know would save quite a lot. Yes.
What role do you think the education system, educational institutions can play in raising environmental leaders, especially females at that?
Yeah. Through research, data collection and research, that is very critical. The academic institutions can conduct that research and provide that data through research fellowships, research fellows, and this would be critical in generating evidence-based policies. Then they can also incorporate climate change programs on the curriculum, can adopt that, so that the students can have the knowledge of environmental sustainability right away from the start. Yeah, and I was talking to someone about the new curriculum, whether it incorporates climate change education. And maybe that is a point of discussion and advocacy. Yeah, the academic institutions can also contribute a role in advocacy. Can you imagine if Makerere hosted a public lecture on climate change and development policy and invite these grassroots organizations to represent their views? Yeah, and the students are there to listen to those stories. Actually, a final year student can live with an idea of how they are going to create sustainable development in the community. So actually this would even create more jobs instead of creating job seekers. So they would get an idea, because with jobs, it's a matter of having an idea. Because the idea of climate impact, I got it out of my education. When I took a bachelor's in development studies, development studies quite a wider, it's a wider course, so you touch here and there and bring together. So I sat down and asked myself, what am I going to do with this wider knowledge? And when I added on my master's in international relations and development studies, it helped me identify how foreign policy actually shapes development. And when I combined with my knowledge in my community of how I saw farmers suffering out of uncertain weather patterns, I decided that I just picked a niche of climate-induced migration and how it can propel the theme of development. Of course, development can't live without policy.
That's true.
So I had to merge the two. So in the same way I got that idea out of education, I believe that having these workshops, someone can have a story representing the grassroots communities and develop a development aspect from there and starts to sell it. And in that regards, can put Uganda on top notch. The fact that we have the non-alignment, we have that space on the non-alignment because we are hosting the 5-year non-alignment movement. So that would contribute to the discussions and engagement to influence policy, and it puts Uganda, it gives it an image to influence foreign policy on a global scale. And actually that doesn't benefit only an individual, it benefits a country, it benefits Uganda as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Now, 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number where you can share your views. And looking at a few of them, somebody comes through and says, good morning. Please tell Maureen that gas is more dangerous than charcoal.
Wow.
What do you have to say about that?
Wow. What I have to say is everything is dangerous. You can never run away from danger. However, I'm not saying that because there is God, you cross Entebbe Road with your eyes closed. Everything needs to be handled with care and responsibility. That is why I am advocating for training before gas supply. People need to be trained on how to use them. They need to be alerted of their risks, and the mitigation plan. So that is what they told us actually. I remember when I was going to purchase my first gas, I told my dad that please give me gas because I'm going to Makerere to study. I need to cook. So he told me, I've seen people dying because of gas. So that is a fear factor, honestly. But if you've trained someone, this is how you switch it on, this is how you switch it off, this is how you light it, this is how you need to switch it off, you need to do this, you need to smell the environment and know that gas has leaked. And then we need to collaborate with the gas suppliers. We can collaborate with Total. We can collaborate with Shell on how to take this capacity building, on how to use gas, on how to train the people on how to use gas. But we can't really shy away and run away because we are looking at diversity, diversifying and promoting a clean energy and environmental sustainability. So we need to weigh both the risks, the advantages and disadvantages. But the fear factor is a psychological issue that we can tackle through training, through sharing, through storytelling. Yes.
Muchunguzi Lawrence comes through and he says, is environmental advocacy funding affected by Trump's presidency?
Yes, that is, I am not in position to discuss it, and I was actually running away from the Trump presidency and the executive order, but I'll briefly say yes. But Muchunguzi doesn't need to lose hope because there are other funding opportunities that we can explore. This is a it is a peak of call for applications. So if Muchunguzi has an organization, a registered organization, he can respond to call for proposals and shoot their shoot. And you don't know what comes out of it. They can also explore other types of funding, in-kind funding, approach the ministries, approach these embassies, just have an idea and have a base. And then sell it to people. And people will support you. Actually, there are people willing to support us as the youth. There are very many people willing to support us, but they want a reason for supporting you. If you're asking me for money, yes, climate change is an issue. We are looking at the heat in Kampala. It is an issue. But if you're looking to tackle that issue, then how am I going to support you? Bring the idea, defend it. Like I said, believe in yourself. Believe in your subject matter. What are you going to use my money for? And people, actually, I'm also struggling with funding, but what I assure the public is I am reaching out. And I'm sure people who are watching, some of them have seen my emails. They have seen a concept note from Climate Impact. They have seen a strategic plan outlining how they can contribute. Technical, funding, the venue secure. So Muchunguzi, just go out in the public, get your niche and approach the world. The world has a lot of money to give you, but you need a reason to take it.
We are celebrating women in environmental sustainability because it's Women's Week, seeing as 8th March is Women's Day, and that is why Maureen is with us as we have that conversation. Maureen is the founder and CEO of Climate Impact Initiative, and 0709602592 is the number you reach out to. Now somebody comes through, this is Omut Paul, who says that the challenge about climate change is every household is contributing to global warming every time they light, even a matchbox. Planting trees in every home. A compound in a home should have 75% green cover, and the volume of water God created has neither increased or decreased, but it has displaced. That's what you say, Paul. And you say, however, the volume of air has increased out of human activity, and much of this is not air in the atmosphere. Now you say that, I think it's to Maureen, that she should inbox you for future solutions. Thank you for being that proactive Ugandan. My name is Alex Twinya from Chiriandongo. The first thing is government must remove Chinese and Indian in wetlands. This is what Alex says, but he also says that why government is removing Ugandans, and why is government leaving Ugandans and leaving I think, other chains. Things like electricity are expensive. I think I'm not getting quite what you are trying to type, Alex, but thank you for being a part of the show. I am Brian Wenger, watching from Kanungu. Thanks for teaching us, but we need more learning. We need more learning. And Isaac Wanzala in Western Nile, you say, would there be an exhibition or environmental show to be carried out in schools and public places, either to be broadcast on social media such as televisions like UBC I believe so. I believe so. The fact that we are having conversations, we have Maureen here to talk to us about environmental sustainability. I think this is a start. 0709609592. As we start to bring this to a close, are there any ongoing community-led environmental projects that inspire you?
Yes, yes. Maybe to comment less before I come to that.
Please.
I would like to comment on the one who was talking about Chinese.
Oh yes, why the government is...
Yes. I also used to think like that before I went back to school and studied international relations and diplomatic studies. One thing that the grassroots people might not understand is that the state is not run on one man. It is run, we have the international policies. That is why we have the UN. That is why we have the regional bodies, the African Union. So when you look at foreign policy, it can't allow you to, we have also what we benefit from the Chinese, though maybe they need to be allocated a safer space, not wetlands. Yes, I agree with him, because this is a time bomb for not only Uganda, but for the world at large. Because climate change is not confined in boundaries. What is felt in America or what is felt in China is felt in Uganda. So, yeah, maybe they need a better allocation space for their activities, but they can't be kicked out because this is a foreign policy that, So, about what you told me, what was it? Can you please repeat?
That was, are there any ongoing community-led projects in regards to environmental sustainability that inspire you?
Yes. I am really inspired by women-led organizations, the CBOs especially at the community level, that plant trees. You know, someone tells you, I've planted 1,000 trees.
Wow.
And the survival rate is maybe only 3 have died. That is an achievement that actually inspires me. I am also inspired by the waste management project by KCCA, really watching women transform plastics into business, and recycling and reusing them is really, it really inspires me that we have people, other people on this journey. The next is the Solar Sister Uganda. I was going to forget. Those people really amuse me. I am really inspired by the way they are conserving the environment. And maybe my message to them is that keep up the good work. We are watching and we are following suit. Your work inspires us and to many others that have not interfaced with. I know the climate change space has a lot of people that are putting in a lot of efforts to the youth, especially the youth, the diplomatic bodies, the embassies. They are really putting a lot in this regards, and we really appreciate as climate impact as an individual, because this shows me that my children, my next generation is secured.
Some of them are actually even authors. They are authoring matters, climate change, like Vanessa Nakate. But Alex comes through and he clarifies his question, asking why is electricity expensive in Uganda, and some Ugandans are poor. They can't manage the price of electricity bills. That's why they resort to charcoal, to using charcoal. That was his 2 cents in regards to the more environmentally friendly approaches used in, for example, cooking versus the use of charcoal. Anything you would want to tell Alex?
Yes, Alex, I would want to tell you that there is an computed cost that he is foregoing. That the cost of producing charcoal to make it a commodity, maybe to make it ready to boil, food on that charcoal. That cost is also quite hectic. The scorching sun, the heat, you know, that heat from, is it incinerator that when they're burning the wood to make charcoal.
Yes.
And to also tell Alex that cheap things are expensive in the long run. You can resort to charcoal, but you're sitting on a time bomb. These are the effects that will cascade to your young generation, to your children, to your children's children. So that is why we bring in this concept of environmental sustainability, because we need to conserve that environment to be accessed by your child's child. And also, because environmental degradation actually poses a lot of health risks. So when we conserve that environment, leave charcoal alone, we are actually avoiding many of the costs. Even this smoke that comes out of charcoal, that is air pollution that could have an impact on our health. So I think Alex is foregoing all of that, but what I would like to tell him is clean cooking is really vital, that we need to see it as a sustainability plan in regards to environment. Not only looking to the immediate output, but looking at the future outputs to be considerate. Yes.
Now, what is your final call to action for Ugandans on environmental sustainability? I understand you shared your worries of the fact that the policy is on paper, but it's not being implemented, which ideally, at the end of it all, deters action. You find that many Ugandans are really laissez-faire, they're carefree when it comes to conversations, environmental sustainability and climate change. They don't really have a lot to say about such topics. They don't really have a lot to mind. They're just going through life. So what would be your final call to action for Ugandans on environmental sustainability?
My final call would be to let them know that climate change issue is requires multi-sectoral approach. Thus calls for the need of partnerships. You can't start it alone, you can't finish it alone. So the government, the policy workers, the policy makers, the business partners, the private sector, the academia, we can combine knowledge on this journey. We do partnerships in regards to combating these climate change issues. And also to the community is that you can start wherever you are. You can maybe do the walking instead of driving. That shows you're reducing on the carbon, on the fossil fuel burning. So you can do cycling, you can walk a short distance instead of driving. You can plant that tree, yeah, to act as a carbon sink. You can also mentor. You can mentor a young person. You can empower them to take leadership in these spaces, to represent their views. You can also, we can also advocate for policies, inclusive policies, the gender inclusive policies.
Amazing.
Yes, as a Women Week, we can contribute as a community, we can contribute in advocating for these policies. And about partnerships, I won't forget to mention that we at Climate Impact Initiative, we are organizing a youth-led dialogue on demystifying the intersectionality of migration, livelihoods, rights, and development policy. We are seeking out for funders, for partners, for support in all kinds of ways. Please reach out to us and let's scale up the impact. Let's create that community awareness that actually climate change, we can tackle it through those policies, advocating for those policies. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maureen. It's been a pleasure having you. And I think what I would add is for us to educate ourselves. With the current heat wave, it's enough for us to be pushed to educate ourselves on matters climate change and environmental sustainability. Good morning, Uganda. The agenda has been that, but Good Morning Uganda continues. Ruben is up next with the sports.